They told her the fire took everything. The house, the dog, even her baby brother. But 30 years later, as Evelyn walked through the ruins with the same unease she'd carried since childhood, she found something half buried beneath the ash. Not bones, not relics, a tiny red shoe, untouched by flame. Clean, brand new. And from that moment on, the memories she'd spent decades burying began to claw their way back. And not all of them were hers. Evelyn Kramer hadn't set foot in Birch Hollow since she was 9 years old. The road was narrower than she remembered, more overgrown, with trees that leaned inward like eavesdropping strangers. Her rental car crunched up the gravel path, tires kicking up clouds of dust that vanished into the summer heat. She killed the engine, sat still. The air here smelled like moss, soot, and something older. Something rotting underneath, Dot. It was her therapist's idea. Closure, Dr. Marcus had said. Returning to the scene can help recontextualize the trauma. You control the memory now, not the other way around. Evelyn didn't believe that. Not really. But when her aunt died and left her the old property, a sense of unfinished business rooted itself in her chest like a splinter. She couldn't dig out. She stepped out of the car. The house, or what was left of it, stood about 50 yards ahead, past the overgrown fence and rusted swing set. Time had not been kind. Charred beams jutted from the blackened foundation like ribs. Glass crunched underfoot. Wild vines coiled through the skeletal remains of her childhood. Home. But she wasn't here for nostalgia, Dot. She was here to see if she could remember what really happened that night. Dot. The official report said it was a gas leak. Accidental ignition. House went up like a matchstick, while she and her baby brother slept upstairs. Evelyn had made it out. Her brother, Caleb, hadn't. But even as a child, Evelyn had questions. She never smelled gas. Never heard an explosion. Just a woman's scream, not her mother's. Just smoke. Darkness. Then waking up in a hospital bed, with a cop telling her she was lucky to be alive, Evelyn stepped into the ruins, boots crunching on cinders. Her flashlight cut through the gloom. The living room was barely recognizable. A melted fireplace, shattered picture frames, and the faint outline of a collapsed ceiling. Then she saw it. Near where the hallway used to be, something poked out. From beneath a slab of scorched drywall. Red. Fabric. She knelt down, heart hammering. It was a child's shoe. Size 5. Clean, untouched. As if it had been placed there yesterday. Her breath caught. Caleb had been wearing red shoes the night of the fire. But these were pristine. Not a speck of ash on them. That didn't make sense. She picked it up with trembling fingers. Inside the tongue, written in faded black marker, was a name. Not Caleb. Micah. The name meant nothing to her. And yet, as she stood up, shoe in hand, something stirred inside her. A flicker of memory. A woman with gold. Earrings screaming behind a locked door. A man's silhouette at the top of the stairs. Caleb's crib. Empty. Evelyn staggered back. The shoe slipped from her grasp. Something was wrong. Something had always been wrong. She just hadn't known how deep it went. And behind her, in the shadows of the old nursery, a floorboard creaked. Evelyn spun around, flashlight trembling in her grip. "Hello?" She called out, the word brittle as glass in the thick, quiet air. Silence. But she'd heard it. A floorboard creak. Deliberate and human. Not some animal scurrying through debris. The beam of her flashlight swept across the blackened nursery. Walls. Nothing moved. Dust floated like ash in the stillness. Her pulse roared in her ears. She forced herself to breathe. It's just the house. Old wood. Settling. But she didn't believe that. She never had. When she was a kid, she'd told people the house breathed. That it made sounds no one else heard. Whispers in the walls. footsteps overhead when everyone was asleep. They said it was trauma, night terrors. Nothing unusual for a girl who'd survived a fire. She'd believe them. She shouldn't have. The red shoe still lay on the ground, where she dropped it. Evelyn stared at it, then picked it up again. Micah. The name felt like sandpaper in her mouth. Rough, foreign, wrong. Who the hell was Micah? She stepped back into the hallway, or what was left of it. The bones of the house were familiar. Each step brought her closer to memories she'd buried under years of silence. The kitchen, the den, the closet where she used to hide when her parents fought. Then she saw the photograph. It was half melted, stuck to the wall near the back of the kitchen. Smoke-stained, warped, but the faces were visible. A man and a woman, maybe late 30s, standing in front of the house, smiling. They weren't her parents. She didn't recognize them. But the woman. Evelyn leaned closer, skin crawling, gold hoop earrings. Just like in the memory that flashed when she found the shoe. Just like the scream behind the locked door. Evelyn's stomach flipped. She ripped the photo from the wall, cutting her finger on the blistered edge. She didn't care. She had to know. She sat in the car, hands shaking, phone gripped tight. "Hey, it's me," she said when Dr. Marcus answered. "Do you remember what I told you about the night of the fire? The memory I keep having? The one you always said felt ... disconnected? Yeah, the woman, the one screaming. I just found her. I found a photo of her. Here, in the house." Marcus hesitated. "Evelyn, we've been over this. The mind fills in gaps. It creates images to explain trauma. No, this isn't imagined. This isn't my mother. This woman isn't anyone I know." A long pause. Then, "I need you to listen to me carefully. Leave the house. Right now. Go back to the motel. We can talk in the morning." "Why? What's wrong?" Another silence. Then softer. "Just trust me. You're too close to this." The call ended. She stared at the dark screen. Too close to what? As she turned the photo over, something caught her eye. Scrawled on the back in looping cursive. "Summer 92, me, Dennis and Micah, Birch Hollow." The fire was in 1996, 4 years before her family ever lived here. And suddenly, Evelyn knew. The fire hadn't started with her family. It had started with someone else, and someone had made damn sure no one ever found out. The motel Evelyn checked into was just off Route 41, the kind with flickering neon, stained carpets, and the kind of front desk clerk who never asks questions. She didn't sleep. She sat in bed, lights off, the red shoe on the table in front of her like a totem. She stared at it until the sun cracked the horizon. By the time she returned to Birch Hollow the next morning, the air was heavy with humidity. The house felt different in daylight. Less haunted, maybe, but not less ominous. The ruins seemed to hold their breath as she approached. She didn't hesitate this time. Straight to the back of the house. Past the collapsed stairs, into what had once been a guest bedroom, her father's old study, before it all burned down. But she wasn't looking for her father's desk. She was looking for a boy's room. If Micah had lived here before them, then his room should have been somewhere nearby. The floor groaned beneath her weight. She moved slowly, scanning the charred walls. Then she saw it, the outline of faded wallpaper beneath the soot. Trains, bright blue and red, peeling and water-damaged but still visible. A child's room. She stepped inside. Most of the furniture was gone, eaten by flame. But against the far wall, a metal bed frame remained, blackened but intact. And next to it, something partially buried in ash. She dug carefully. It was a wooden toy train. The kind with magnets between the cars. Burned, but recognizable. One of the wheels was cracked. The name Micah was carved into the underside in rough letters. Evelyn sat back on her heels. This wasn't an imagined memory. Micah was real. He had lived here, played here, and someone had erased him. She took photos. The train, the wallpaper, the photo of the family from '92. Then she pulled out her phone and did what she should. Done yesterday. Search. Micah Birch Hollow Fire 1992. Nothing. She added. Dennis Birch Hollow 1992. Still nothing. It was like they'd never existed. Until she went deeper. She found a tiny article from an old regional paper, a paragraph, buried in a 1992 archive. No photo. Local family missing. After suspicious fire, authorities continue to investigate a house fire that consumed a home on Birch Hollow Road last Thursday. Though no bodies were recovered, Dennis K. and his wife Rachel were presumed inside, along with their 5-year-old son, Micah. Foul play is suspected. The case remains open. Evelyn's mouth went dry. Presumed dead. No bodies. No resolution. And 4 years later, her family moved in. No mention of what came before. Just a clean slate. She clicked the byline of the article. Reporter, Marilyn Cortez. Maybe she was still alive. Still working. Evelyn called every local paper until she found her. Marilyn's voice crackled through the line. Older, cautious. Birch Hollow? That was a long time ago. I found something. A shoe. A train. They weren't burned. It's like they were placed there recently. Marilyn went quiet. Then she said, I never bought the missing story. The whole thing felt buried, sealed, like someone wanted it forgotten. Why? Because there were rumors about that house. Long before the fire. About what Dennis did. What did he do? More silence. People said he was taking in kids, ones that weren't his. Off the record. From people who wanted to disappear. No paperwork. No trails. Evelyn's blood ran cold. What happened to them? That's the question, Marilyn said. Some say he helped them. Others say he didn't, but none of those kids ever showed up again. Evelyn whispered, so if my family moved into that house 4 years later, Marilyn's voice dropped. Then the question is, why you? Why your family? Evelyn didn't respond, because deep down, something in her already knew. She hadn't remembered the fire, because she wasn't supposed to. Someone had made sure of that, and they might be watching her even now. The motel mirror had a long vertical crack that split Evelyn's reflection. Down the middle, a fitting image, considering how she felt inside. 2 lives, 2 selves. The one who lived through the fire, and the one who maybe didn't. She replayed Marilyn's words again and again. None of those kids ever showed up again. But Evelyn had. Hadn't she? She pulled out her birth certificate. Folded, creased, stained from years in the back of drawers. Evelyn Marie Kramer. Born April 12, 1987. Parents, Thomas and Linda Kramer. Except, there was a problem. She had no photos of herself before 1996. Not a single one. No. Kindergarten class picture. No birthday cake with 4 candles. No childhood drawings stuck to the fridge. Every memory she had before age 9 felt vague, dreamlike, like someone else's dream. She opened her laptop. Search. Evelyn Kramer birth announcement. 1987. Illinois. Nothing. She searched her elementary school. Her name didn't appear on the student rolls until 1996, the year after. The fire. She tried her old pediatrician's office. Disconnected. Even her Social Security records had a gap. Her number had been issued in late '96, not when she was born. A chill ran down her spine. She picked up the red shoe. Micah. Who was? Micah to her? A neighbor? A stranger? Or something closer? She looked in the mirror again, this time searching not for herself, but for someone she might have been. Then she made another call. The old caseworker from Child Protective Services. Evelyn had only met her once, when she was first placed. With her aunt, after the fire, she was almost certain the woman would be dead or unreachable. But she wasn't. Mrs. Dawson? Yes? Who's calling? This is Evelyn Kramer. You were my caseworker in 1996. I have some questions. There was a long pause. Then, I remember you. You do? Yes, because I remember thinking, why doesn't this girl have a file? Evelyn's throat went dry. There was nothing, Dawson continued. No medical history, no school records. No known relatives besides the aunt who took you in. But your family's file was flagged. Sealed. That's not normal. What does that mean? It means someone wanted you to disappear, then reappear under a different name. And they had the power to make that happen. Evelyn's heart pounded. Was my name ever something else? Another paused out then, in a whisper. I'm not allowed to say. But check the sealed adoption records from summer of '92. That's where the truth starts. Click. The line went dead. Evelyn sat frozen. Adoption. But she was never adopted. Her parents were her real parents, weren't they? Unless she jumped. To her feet. She needed to go back. To the ruins. To Micah's room. Because there was one more thing she hadn't checked. Beneath the floorboards. The sun was setting by the time she returned. The house groaned in the wind like it was remembering. Things too. She entered Micah's room. Pried at the warped floorboards with a tire iron. The third one gave way, with a crack. Beneath it, a bundle, plastic wrapped, taped. She pulled it out. Inside, drawings. Dozens of them. Childlike, colorful, stick figures. A woman with earrings. Man with no face. A red shoe. And one drawing labeled in big letters, Me and Micah, twins. Evelyn dropped the paper. Her vision swam. Micah wasn't a stranger. Micah was her brother, and she hadn't survived the fire. He had. Evelyn sat in the ashes of her own story, surrounded by children's drawings that felt like time bombs. Her hands shook as she spread them out, one by one. Each page was like a scream that had been waiting decades to be heard. One image repeated, 2 stick figures, one with long hair, one with none, both labeled Me. Only sometimes the label shifted. Sometimes it read Micah. Sometimes Evelyn. Sometimes both. She felt something uncoil in her chest, a sensation she couldn't name. Not fear, not grief, something more primal. Recognition. Her hands found a final sheet at the bottom of the pile, carefully folded, nearly pristine. On it, in awkward crayon scrawl, was a sentence that made her skin go cold. If I be her, I can stay. That was when the memory cracked open. Not a dream, not a vision. A real, visceral scream, her own, but higher pitched, smaller, coming from inside a closet. They had hidden her in the closet. They had taken him away. A woman's voice. Not her mother's. Desperate. Panicked. Micah, don't come out until I say so, baby. No matter what happens. A bang. A man's voice, low, threatening. Then flames. The acrid taste of smoke. And then nothing. The lights in her head had gone out. Until she woke up in a hospital bed. And someone told her she was Evelyn Kramer, and she'd believed it. But now, it all made a terrible kind of sense. She wasn't Evelyn. She had been Micah. Micah, who had hidden in a closet the night his foster parents were killed. Micah, who had been taken by people trying to erase the truth. Micah, who had become Evelyn. Shaved head, drugged memories, given to another family with a new name. a new history, and a sealed identity that no one was ever meant to uncover. Her whole life had been built on a lie, not just about who started the fire, but about who she was. She staggered out of the house, legs numb, lungs tight. Night had fallen. Crickets chirped. The world carried on, oblivious. Her phone buzzed. A new voicemail. From an unknown number. She pressed. Play. At first, just static. Then a voice. Male. Older. Calm. You weren't supposed to go back there. Silence. You opened something that should have stayed buried. A click. The line went dead. Evelyn's mouth went dry. Whoever that was. They knew. They'd been watching. And they knew that she knew. She started the car. Hands shaking. Tires spitting gravel as she sped back toward the highway. She didn't know where she was going, only that she had to run. But she also knew something else now. Something no one could take from her again. She was Micah, and someone had burned her whole life to the ground to make her forget it. But she remembered now, and she wasn't going to stop until she found out who did it. And why. She drove through the night, aimless, until the road signs blurred and the sky lightened behind the trees. By dawn, Evelyn pulled into a rest stop and collapsed in the front seat, hands still stained with ash. Red shoe on the dashboard, like a cruel mascot. Micah. I am Micah. The truth wasn't just a crack in her reality. It was a detonation. Every moment of her life, every relationship, every decision, built on a name that wasn't hers, a gender that wasn't hers, a life that never existed. She thought of her parents, no, the Kramers, and felt something colder than grief. Contamination. She didn't know what was real about them anymore. She needed help. Answers. She called Marilyn Cortez again. This time, the reporter answered on the first ring. I remember you saying someone wanted this forgotten, Evelyn said. Who? A pause. Then, ever heard of Project Echo? No. It was a private state partnership in the early 90s. Hush, hush even then. Supposedly, it helped kids removed from dangerous homes integrate into new lives. High-risk cases. But there were rumors. What kind of rumors? That some kids weren't just relocated. They were reprogrammed. Evelyn felt bile. Rise. Adoption laundering, Marilyn continued. No trails. No past. No trauma. Just a new identity. From scratch. It was supposed to be humane. A second chance. But some of those kids, they weren't supposed to survive. Evelyn whispered. Micah was one of them. I think so, Marilyn said. And someone rewrote him. Into you. There was. A long silence. Then Evelyn asked the question that had been clawing at her since the fire came back in pieces. Why would anyone do that to a kid? Because sometimes one kid survives when they weren't supposed to, and someone needs to clean that up. Marilyn sent her an address, a storage unit outside Rockford. A former whistleblower kept files, she said. Names, photos. There might be something in there about Micah. Evelyn drove. Each mile was heavier than the last. The unit was unmarked, far behind a padlocked gate. She climbed over, flashlight in one hand, bolt cutters in the other. The storage space groaned open like a throat. Dust choked the air. Boxes. Folders. Tapes. She rifled through them, heart racing, until she found a folder labeled Subject 13, Pilot Transfer Case. Inside, documents. One form showed a child listed only as Micah R. Age 5. Taken into custody June 14, 1992. Non-compliant. Memory resistant. Potentially high value. Another form. August 1992. Reclassified. Subject reassigned. Gender reassignment included. Identity overwritten. Integration scheduled with Thomas and Linda Kramer. Evelyn's knees buckled. They had rewritten her like a character in a script. Not adopted. Repurposed. They erased. Micah, his name, his voice, his body, and gave the Kramers a daughter who didn't exist. She flipped through the pages until she found the last photo. It was old, grainy, a little boy, sitting in a closet, red shoes on his feet, eyes full of fear. And standing behind him, blurred, but unmistakable, was a man. No face, just a name on the clipboard he carried, Dr. Silas Dreyer. Evelyn's breath caught. She'd heard that name before. He wasn't just part of the program. He'd been at her childhood hospital. He'd been her therapist, and he was still practicing. Dr. Silas Dreyer's office was tucked inside an ivy-covered building in Evanston. Tasteful, clinical, the kind of place meant to calm disturbed minds with soothing tones and subtle manipulation. Evelyn sat in the waiting room, staring at the certificate behind the glass. Board-certified child and adolescent psychiatrist, Est. 1989. He had been doing this a long time. He had been doing her for a long time. When the receptionist called her name, Evelyn stood slowly, her hands clenched in her jacket pockets, one holding the red shoe. Dr. Dreyer looked older now, grayer, still calm, still that unreadable face like polished wood. He smiled when she entered. "Evelyn," he said warmly. "What a surprise. It's been years." She sat without answering. For a moment, neither spoke. Just the hum of the clock. Then she placed the red shoe on the table between them, like a loaded gun. His smile faded. "I remember," he said quietly. "Do you?" Her voice was a whisper. "Because I remember now, too." He exhaled through his nose, almost disappointed. "I was hoping this wouldn't happen. I wasn't supposed to find the house, was I?" "No," he said. "You weren't supposed to remember it." Her jaw trembled, but she held his gaze. "You took a little boy from a house fire and turned him into a girl who never existed. You erased Micah." He nodded, like a teacher gently affirming a child's breakthrough. Micah was deeply traumatized. He'd witnessed something unspeakable. His foster father, Dennis, wasn't just housing children. He was experimenting on them. Micah was the only one left alive. He was already disassociating. His identity was collapsing. "So you decided to finish the job." "We didn't erase him. We gave him peace. We gave him a future." Evelyn's fists clenched. "You gave him amnesia. You gave me lies." He leaned forward, eyes sharp now. "You think the truth would have saved you? That little boy was fractured beyond repair. Evelyn was your salvation. And you've built a life, haven't you? College, friends, a job." None of that was possible for him. Evelyn stood. "I came to tell you something," she said. "I'm not Evelyn anymore." He tilted his head. "And who are you, then?" "I'm Micah, and I'm going to burn this entire lie down." He smiled again, sad this time. "You won't, because there's no one to testify. No files, no victims. You're the only one left. And I'll be enough." She left the shoe on the table and walked out. By the time the sun set, she'd leaked the Project Echo documents to 3 journalists, filed a formal ethics complaint with the medical board, and scheduled an interview with Marilyn Cortez. She knew it wouldn't bring back the children lost in that house. It wouldn't restore her lost years. That it wouldn't make her whole. But as she walked past a shoe store window that night and saw a pair of red sneakers, she didn't flinch. She didn't forget. Micah was no longer buried in a ruined house. He was awake now, and this time he wasn't going back in the closet.